Wrong channel. So we'll give everybody a few minutes to get back into the show. Let's throw some music up in the background while we kind of wait for people to join here. Yeah, I've been doing so many streams lately. I actually had the wrong channel going. So I was looking for people in chat. Nobody was here yet. So we'll give everybody a few minutes to kind of get on board, and then we'll start talking about some Blazor stuff. So we are live, if you're joining me now. Waiting for people to kind of join the show before I get started. Chat room's still a little empty. I started off on the wrong stream. Wrong stream channel anyway. I'm live now, that's better. Let's see. We're gonna talk about the new release of Blazor today. We're going to talk about the ebook that I released, and we'll do some demos with the ebook. I think a lot of people find that helpful. We'll push that up to GitHub. We'll cut the music here in a minute once some folks join. We gotta get a chat room going before we get too far. This is my fault. I started on the Code It Live channel a minute ago because I forgot to change my output. So I was on the wrong channel completely. How embarrassing is that, right? It's all good. We'll get some folks in here and we'll get kicked off. All right, viewers are starting to perk up now. Welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining me. I think we're safe to kind of get things moving now. So for the viewers that are joining, you might not have heard what I said earlier. Go ahead and get the music out of the way now. I usually give like a few minute intro for people to join the chat room and like get started and all that good stuff. I completely goofed up and started streaming to the wrong channel, not my own channel. So that's why I'm starting a little later than the announcement that went out. It's one of those weeks. I mean, what can I say, right? Let's go ahead and get some stuff started. Let me get my coding environment up here on the screen. We're going to talk about the new release. I have not actually installed it on this machine yet. And I've started installing the Visual Studio tools. So I have the latest Visual Studio Enterprise preview. This says, 16.6 preview 2.0. So that should be the latest version there. We still need to install the latest Blazor preview bits. We haven't got quite those installed yet. Once we do, we'll talk about the Blazor ebook. We'll do some examples from the ebook. So if you have the ebook or you want to get the ebook, it is completely free. I'll put the link up in the chat room. I'll put it on the screen here as well so you can see where it's coming from. So if you go to teller.com/whitepapers/blazor-ui/blazor ebook, boy, we need a bit.ly for that, huh? You'll find the beginner guide to Blazor in there. You just click Get It Now. You'll download that ebook for free. There's some good examples in there, and I've had people asking for a repo for the ebook, so we'll build that today. We'll push that up online for everybody. And let me see. Just so we've got a good check on audio and video, let me know in the chat room if the stream is coming through okay. And we'll continue on here. We've had a lot of technical issues with the stream stuff this week. I don't know if it's if it's all software, if it's just kind of the overall environment that's given us trouble, but we've definitely had streaming problems. So chime in the chat room, let me know we're all connected good. I appreciate that. I'm going to pop this link one more time because I can see the viewer count kind of bouncing around a little bit. So we've got a free ebook that we can download. We're going to go check out the blog post on the latest version of Blazor. So we'll do that next. So this just dropped yesterday during the other live stream that I had going on. So we've got a brand new preview. If I can just find the release notes again. So let's see here. Brand new bits shipped, and I believe we actually have debugging now, which is too awesome. Something that we've been waiting a long time for. There we go. That's the link I was looking for. Let me get this link out for everybody so we can see that. We got a post by Daniel Roth here. So this is March 26th. That was yesterday. We've got the update for Blazor WebAssembly available. Debugging in Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. We're going to have to do some Visual Studio Code here eventually. I still haven't jumped on board the Visual Studio Code bus yet. The tooling for Blazor's fairly new there, so we've had quite a bit of stuff in Visual Studio for a while, and that's my main IDE anyway, so I usually stay in Visual Studio land. We'll have to check out Visual Studio Code eventually. That'll be fun. Auto rebuild, I heard, is in the release but is broken, so we'll have to see for ourselves, but I'm pretty sure that information coming from the community is pretty accurate. I've seen some discussions in the Gitter channel that is also the case. And let me zoom in a little bit here as well so we can all see this post. Let's get started. Oh, wait, we got one more thing. New HTTP client extension methods for handling JSON. I have to see what's in those. I was just discussing some of this stuff yesterday on the Code It Live channel. We were looking at how those extension methods work, the ones we already have, like get, put, post, those type of things, and how they pass data around. And I think there might be some changes in there that'll be handy. So let's install the latest bits. I saved this for the show because I want people to be able to follow along if they haven't done this before, and we can catch any like problems along the way and solve those if there's any issues, because it helps when people see that everything doesn't always just work, and you're going to have issues, and even experienced developers like myself have plenty of technical issues along the way. So we've got, I've copied the link here. We have to make sure we have the appropriate .NET Core SDK installed. Oops, I almost skipped that step. Go over here, click this link. So that was at the very top under Getting Started. We've got the .NET Core 3.1 SDK. We'll go ahead and grab that first. I'm on Windows x86. We'll install those bits. Bandwidth here's pretty good today, so we get that fast. So we'll go ahead and install .NET Core SDK. That machine may need a reboot after that. I don't know, but it's cool now. I've got a remote desktop session here, so I can reboot without killing my streaming rig, which is nice. Still a little quiet in the chat room. If anybody at all could just ping me real quick and let me know that audio video's coming through just fine, I'd appreciate it. Be very helpful. What I don't want to do is have a stream with no audio going out. Looks good from my end, but I can't really tell without a little bit of verification. There we go. Chat room's waking up. Thank you, Dark Repulsor and Bad Blitz KB. We see video now. Yay, awesome. Hey, Curious Drive, welcome back. Good to know everybody's out there doing well, I hope. All right. Thank you, everybody. Coefficients here. Sling Gelstat. Oh, that's a mouthful. I don't know how to pronounce that one. Everything's perfectly clear, says Peter Morse. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So we're just installing bits. I'm assuming some of you have already done this. I've heard that some things don't work quite yet. So I just downloaded the installer. Did I run it? I lost focus trying to get trying to make sure I got the okay, yeah, it's going to a repair or uninstall. Yeah, I don't want to do that again. So got that installed. Next thing we need to do is grab those templates and install those. So get that out of my way. And we will install this. So I'm going to put this on my clipboard. We'll just do a quick command line. Control R. I need to get my command line tool installed on here. I prefer conemu. Curious Drive, I have not tried .NET 5 Preview 1 yet. Reason being is, from what I understand, the preview that I'm installing now and the .NET 5 preview are exactly the same. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that is the case. So, recommend installing latest preview Visual Studio. I am up to date on that. I'm pretty sure 5.0 and 3.2 are the same. This is where they will start to diverge, though. So in this preview will become stable, and 5.0 will become the fast track. And I think right now we're at the fork. We are at the fork, and the fork hasn't started to actually diverge yet. So they should be one and the same. I'm just going to stick with 3.2 for now. And we are not doing any migrations today. We're going to start a new project with the book, which the book is here. And again, I'll put it in the chat room one more time because I think people are still joining the show. Free ebook, go grab it, especially if you're new to Blazor. It's got some good demos and stuff in it. Curious Drive says, I tried Blazor WebAssembly preview, but couldn't handle external logins because of authentication tokens. 3.2 should be out mid-April, if I remember correctly. Yes. Yeah, I think they're going to be the same until, I don't know if I'm supposed to say build, but I'm going to say build. I mean, everybody wants to say May, March, April, May. May is the same time frame as build, and build is in May, and May is build. So do the math. I'm pretty sure once build is over, this is unofficial. Don't say that I said it's official or anything, but once that May time frame passes, I think that's when we'll see the official fork in the road. So. Yeah, thanks for confirming that, Dark Repulsor. So we're not going to do anything but new projects today, so I'm going to skip over any migration steps here. Yes, I've installed, it says this many times here, make sure you have the latest preview of Visual Studio 2019 16.6 installed. I have just done that before I started streaming. That's pretty painless, that right there. Let's do new project, and we want to test the Blazor app. Ooh. All right, so this is going to be tricky. I think in my ebook, where I want to do the examples from the ebook, I believe I'm using server-side Blazor in there, and the examples call out to specific parts. So maybe we can do both. I'll create 2 projects here. We'll do it once, and then we'll switch over to server side, and we'll do it again, and then I'll upload both of those projects, so everybody will have that. So that'll be a good compromise there. So let's do file new empty project. Let's do empty first. If you're going to do multiple solution or projects in a solution, this is my go-to. Empty.NET project, C# project. If you do empty, then you can just add things to it. It makes naming things so much easier. We'll call this one Blazor book examples. So we're going to do some of the ebook examples in here. We'll keep it in source repos. That's a fine solution name. Place project and solution in the same directory. That'll be fine too. Framework. Oh, did I do .NET Framework? I meant .NET Core. Why is it Framework? What? Why don't I have an empty Framework .NET Core project? Should have an empty template in here. Blank solution, that's the one I want. So blank, empty, that was my problem. So if you're gonna search, it's blank. You don't want an empty project, that's something different. Blank. And no search comes up for that one. Huh, that's special. So I said empty project, but I meant blank solution, which is unsearchable for some reason. Okay, all right, let's go ahead with the blank solution. Then we just give it a solution name. Blazor book examples. There we go, create. Then we can add stuff to it. That makes things so much easier. Auto rebuild is not working in WASM 3 to preview 3. Yeah, that seems to be the going rumor. Berchevsky, I think is how you pronounce that. Thank you for the feedback there. I think you are correct. I haven't confirmed myself, but I've heard it so many times now that I am believing it is true. So we have a blank solution. Like using blank solutions here because, oh, come on, zoom. Where's my zoom function? No, I don't want to do that. Where's my zoom? Oh, my zoom it tool took a dive. I should be able to zoom in on stuff. There we go. That did a trick. Blank solution. We'll go ahead and add a server side and a client side project to the tree. And yeah, so you've got, are you using Evan Weeks? Are you talking about the Blazor blogging? Is it the open source blogging project or your own personal home rolled thing that you're talking about? Auto debugging didn't work, or auto rebuild didn't work, but debugging did. So speed or more. So that's good because I'd rather have the one than the other. Evan, if you want to post, if that's the Blazor blogs I'm thinking of, if you want to post a link for everybody to check that out, feel more than welcome to do that. Paste that in the chat room for everybody so they can see what you're talking about. Even though you said it's out of date, they can still, maybe they can help contribute or whatever. Oh, it is a personal blog. Oh, okay. Homeworld thingamajig. Okay. There is a Blazor like blog engine somebody was working on. Trying to remember if it was Mr. Web Surfer, Michael Washington, or who it was. But there is an open sourcey thing out there. So I'm going to do file new Blazor project now, and we'll call this one book WASM. Create. And we're going to choose WebAssembly. I guess this is still .NET Core 3.2. No, something's wrong here. That's not right. That's not the right preview, is it? It should be, let's try to toggle this. No. So I'm looking down here. I don't think this is the right. It says source is CLI 3.1 preview. Should be 3.2, right? So let's double check before we create a project that is old. Let's see here. It should be. Yeah, what happened there? I swear I installed this. Did I hit the wrong? I have two desktops, so I might have installed it on the wrong desktop, but I could have swore command, paste, .NET new, install, boom. So let's see what we've got here. Razor components. So in here, I can see we have, you know what? Let's do it this way. Since there is confusion, let's uninstall. Let's do a .NET new dash. I think it's here. Let's do help. I think it's dash uninstall or dash u. Let's do dash u. Let's make sure we're going to remove the Blazor WASM project. Could not find uninstall Blazor WASM. Do I have to? I thought I could have swore I could call it out that way. If I have to know the entire template name, that's not going to happen. Let's try it without a version number. And we'll uninstall and make sure that this old one is out of our system. Boom, there we go. That did it. So now if I do .NET new, it should give me that list, and Blazor WASM should be gone. And let's close Visual Studio because we're probably driving it insane. So let's see, I've got Blazor server app, which is fine. Let's go back through the command line. And we will reinstall. Had the same problem with your dev machine, game machine sometimes. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm using two different machines, not by choice, but by necessity, because OBS, the streaming software, like eats CPU, like Chrome eats memory. And it just can't handle everything on its own. So let's see. StarFox33, thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. So if we do .NET list SDKs, coefficients is, let's try that. We have 3.1.3 preview. And what I expected to have, this should be, yeah, 3.1.3. 3.1.3. And then let's double check, just making sure all these are correct before I do new project. What I really hate is when I do a new project and it ends up being the old version. Then I have to remove it and then do all this again. So we're going to add a new project. Choose Blazor. Book WASM. Let's see. Omar, thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. Welcome to the show. So we are, okay, so that is the correct version there. So I guess the confusion for me is there's so many version numbers around here. It's kind of hard to track everything. So this is the, I guess the .NET SDK version, which is slightly different than, so the SDK version is 3.1.2.01, but the runtime is 3.1.3, and then okay, or later. Okay, that works for me. And then the template is 3.2.0 preview 3. That's all fun and confusing, really. So this, I assume, is the latest version. We'll see that 3.2. We'll see this in the dependencies when we load this. So we will do that. I think I just used full WASM. Let me take a look at the book, actually. So we're going to follow the book, the brand new ebook. If at any time you hear me say ebook and you don't have a link to it and you want to download it, just let me know and I will send a link your way in the chat room. It is free for anybody, not just people watching the show. It's just free. I wrote it, published it through Progress Software, and we're going to take a look at it and walk through some of the examples here. So let me get this up on my machine. I just need to grab a link to it real quick for myself. And I need to put it on the actual virtual machine that I have running here. So let me do that real fast. So let's download the ebook onto this machine and open it up. This is what the ebook looks like, if you don't have it already. And we're going to go through, let's see, the chapter called Component Basics. And we'll test out the whole debugging experience along the way. Debugging was not available when I wrote the book. I don't think I wrote about any debugging, lack of debugging or anything like that. I just simply didn't include any information about it. So that might be something that I have may gift this to some coworkers. It's free, so please feel free to gift that to your coworkers. You can be the hero. Here you go, Evan. Completely free, no strings attached. We grab your email, but we will send like links if there's an update to the book, or like maybe when I publish these examples as a repo, stuff like that. But other than that, it's free. So enjoy. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna build a simple weather example. I chose weather. Oh, awesome. Thanks, Evan. So we're gonna build this example. I chose a weather example because weather is already included in the template, which we'll create. And the I might want to rename that. That's fine, I guess. We won't go crazy with the namespaces and stuff. So as we build this out, you'll see that we're just going to use existing assets, and that makes it really easy for people to follow along with the book, because you don't have to write like a ton of boilerplate code. You just use the boilerplate code that's already there. So if we look, we already have a fetch data example that has this weather forecast thing to it. Now in the book, we'll I wanted to try out the debugging experience, so we'll set some breakpoints in here on WebAssembly, and then we'll switch back over to server side for a minute and we'll create an example in server side as well. So we're going to take this weather forecast object and just kind of use that to make this weather forecast display. And then we'll learn about templates, and we'll be able to make repetitive data binding templates with this. So, whoops, I went too far up. Bookmarks again, component basics. And we start with talking about directives in here. We're going to build a weekly forecast view. So we want to go into pages and add a brand new page here. We'll do Razor component. I heard there's issues with this Razor component dialog, by the way. So we'll see if that holds true. We want to call this weekly forecast. Let me make sure that's plural or not. So it's weekly forecast. Yeah, so there's not an S there. Weekly forecast. This must be the thing that people were complaining about in the Gitter channel. So once when you hit file new component, this is what you get. And it never stops from what I understand. You have to close it and rebuild. And coefficient says, yes, me too. That's happening to me. And then you have to open it again. That's kind of annoying. I don't know. Maybe there's a little glitch in the compiler or something with this new version. So now we have our weekly forecast. We need to add a route. And in the book, I talk about directives in routing. I don't spend a lot of time on routing. There's not really too much to talk about in regards to routing. It just gives you a URL for your page. There's some things that you can do with it, but they're pretty straightforward. So I kind of skipped through it in the book. I try to keep it on the material I thought was necessary to be productive today. Like, how do I get going right now? And I try to focus in on component architecture and some of those things and some of the gotchas that are in there. So first time seeing that. So it can run indefinitely. That's fun. Yes, Blazor University has an excellent section on routing. So if you do need to get caught up on that, so like for further reading, Peter's Blazor University is really good. I suggest you check that out at blazor-university.com. Thanks for sharing that in chat, Peter. So any supplemental learning you need to do outside of the ebook, that's a great place to look for it. And I know it's so in the other side of the world, we pronounce it routing. So if I'm at the root route, is that the root? That's something I never could understand. Is it the root? Root? So tell me, the route. How would you pronounce that, Mr. Peter Morris? So I am at, backslash. Like, what is that called? The very first branch in the tree. Yeah, it's the root. It's confusing. You're just confusing us. It's a route. It's the root of the root. But they're spelled different. How are you pronouncing these things the same? They have one has a U, one has a double O. Let's see. All right, so we have our weather forecast page, our weekly forecast page, and we could run that. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what it's going to do, though. We're just going to get an empty page that we can navigate to. And the first thing we're going to do is build a card. So I'll paste this in, and there we go. That's better. Oh, I know they're going to fix this stuff soon, but Formatting is a nightmare. All right, there we go. So we've got our weekly forecast page, and then we've stuck a card on it. And I chose to go ahead and use the Bootstrap, classes here. So these are, again, built in. We don't have to write any CSS code, which makes the book slimmer. We don't have to learn CSS code to write Blazor components. It's already provided for us. It is part of the default template. So if we go to weather forecast, or sorry, weekly forecast. We go to weekly forecast, we already have a nice looking card. And why we do is because we're using Bootstrap, which has a card class. It has a background light, which gives us a light gray color. And we can inline style width just because we don't want this to stretch into eternity, which it will. If I take that away, it will go completely. Actually, let's see. It should go all the way across the screen. This is not the desired behavior, at least not yet. I think we do take that out later in the book, but we'll see. If we take out, come on, Chrome. Let me do bad things here. It's bad practices, but we'll do that. All right, so yeah, if I take that style away, it goes all the way across the screen. So we want to make sure it's nice and compact, so it looks like a card. Card body outlines where the stuff inside is going to go. And then we have icon classes built in. So I'm giving it this H1 class, which not my favorite semantics for styling, but it's Bootstrap, it's already there. Let's utilize it. So the H1 class mimics the H1 element properties, which gives it a bigger, bolder style. So that gives us this nice big weather icon, makes it nice and big. If I were to come in here and toggle that, you would see what I'm talking about. So this H1 style, if I were to remove it, the icon gets itty bitty, tiny. So that's all that little H1 does. And then the rest of it is just displaying the icon. So OI is, what is this framework called again? OpenIconic. OpenIconic-rain gives me the rain icon. Now we're going to put an H1 tag and put a static temperature in there. I chose C for the book because, frankly, it's the right way to do it. I will side with you on Celsius. I'm not going to side with you on root. How about that? That's our compromise. Can we do that? I get root and you get Celsius. I promise I won't put these in Fahrenheit. It's just wrong. All right. So paragraph text goes here in card text. And this gives us a template we can work with now. Not literal template, but figurative one. So we can repeat this layout here. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to move this to a repeatable output. And to do that, we're going to use this deflex container. Again, a Bootstrap convention here. Div class equals deflex. This is just telling Bootstrap I want a flexbox container around these elements. And flexbox is pretty easy to use on its own. This just makes it even easier. So we can you were in another meetup yesterday night. Who won? I don't think the voting is over yet. So we had a little contest yesterday here at work. We did the Code It Live channel. And that is what Evan is referring to. We did a quarantine coding session. So we had two teams from work face off and build apps. And there was a poll. So the poll, I think, lasts another week. And nobody won yet. So my team is winning, but the other team is catching up, which is weird. So I don't know. We aired everything yesterday. I thought we were going to just call it at the end of the show. But Team Fever was ahead by another couple points yesterday. So this was on the Code It Live channel. So Dan Siegel, or no, sorry, somebody was asking Binary Chef, where did that come from? Yeah, that's what they're talking about, the Code It Live channel. You were on there, Binary Chef. I saw you. So yeah, it went on until like 7 o'clock at night, Eastern Standard Time. Yes, thank you. So oddly enough, so this might be a little too much inside information, but I'm gonna complain for a minute. So we have an app called OBS that pretty much everybody in the streaming world uses, and I have something called a Stream Deck, which has keys I can press that interact with that studio and let me change scenes and all that. And then we have the ability to pull people in with Skype calls. All of those things stopped working for me the minute I tried to go live. So we had to kind of do it on our own, a little bit improvised, but it still came out good. Oh, yesterday night. I gotcha. Semantics. Let's fight that one out in the Semantics Dome. All right. So just to give this a quick repeating layout, we're just going to wrap this in IEnumerable range 1 through 5. So this gives us a range of items. This is it's going to new up just a list of items for us and let us iterate through it. And that should give us a repeating, let's see if I can just refresh. There we go. Let's kill this tab. So just putting a for each around this gives us a repeated card layout, which is nice. And that's about where we stand there. Now in the book, I've got an M2 on there as well. So put a little margin around that. Put a little margin there, and then we take away the style from it. And that should give us a little better look and feel. There we go, some proper spacing between those. I have not gotten my Stream Deck back yet, by the way. Binary Chef, it's still dead. I can do some things with it, but not interact with OBS. So yeah, I don't know. My whole OBS, I need to export like all the settings and stuff and just wipe it and reinstall OBS. I haven't gotten to that yet. It's just a lot of work with all this other stuff going on. So we'll repeat our layout. And then we'll start moving this to a component. So I like to start things kind of like this when I build components. I try to include this kind of pattern in the book where we get everything out as a prototype and then we kind of extract the component out. So I'm going to go over to shared and I'm going to add a new Razor component. And this one is going to be called weather day because it's going to display a day of weather. And then again, I think you have to exit that. Let's see if I can just, yeah, you don't have to recompile. You just have to come back, apparently. So it is what it is. We are still bleeding edge, folks. So we'll cut this and just paste it in our weather day and go back and say weather day here. And that is like the easiest way to abstract a component. Use Streamlabs for Twitch and OBS for YouTube. Interesting choice. I haven't tried Streamlabs OBS yet. I'll have to check it out, but I don't know. Everybody else uses OBS directly. I have a Streamlabs account and everything. I just haven't really tried it. I probably should with all the trouble I've been having. They are essentially the same core, so I don't know how much it's going to help me. So moving that to a component will not change this output any. It just makes things easier to read in the code. And then we can start adding some parameters. So we're going to add parameters to this. And I'll copy and paste. You don't have to watch me type it all out. We have a summary, temperature in Celsius, and day of the week. So the summary is going, let's see, summary is going to go there. Actually, we can copy this. Well, I won't copy it because then we won't be able to see how this all transitions. So summary and day of the week go here, like that. So that replaces our static text. We also want to replace our temperature in Celsius. This is just an integer, and we can write that out as temperature in C. And then our, let's see, we don't have the icon. Yeah, no, we don't have the icon yet. We have temperature, summary, day of the week. So those things are now dynamic. And these are using one-way data binding. And we have to set those somewhere. So we're going to go back to here. And now we have parameters that we can use to set these. There we go, that's better. We'll say that we have a temperature of 20 degrees and a day of the week of, am I using date time now? Oh no, it's actually the literal day. Day of week, Friday. And the summary is going to be cloudy. All right, so we have our fictitious data here, our static data so far. So we have that. And now we're setting our parameters. We're making these the component a little more dynamic. So now we're going to make it even more dynamic, and we're going to feed some live data, simulated live data. In the ebook, we're using server-side Blazor. So we'll do a little translation here in a little bit. So the first thing is, where are we generating it in this one? It's in fetch data. So this is, we're going to want to move this. Let's see, how do I handle this in the ebook? It comes from a service in the ebook. Oh, let's see, yeah. So this comes from Get Forecast Async in the ebook, and in WebAssembly it is coming from a JSON file. That's going to be tricky. So let's see, we've got our JSON file here. So in the JSON file it has freezing, bracing, or balmy. This is definitely a little bit different. So we want cloudy, rainy, and sunny. So we'll just do a find and replace here. So instead of freezing, we will find freezing. The reason for this is because we have icons that match up with these. Instead of freezing, we'll do rainy. Replace those. Let's do bracing is now cloudy. And balmy is now, so you did rainy, cloudy, and then what was the third option? Rainy, cloudy, sun. Just sun. So these names literally just came from the icon, so I could make the book. Thanks for following, Brian. Welcome to the show. Nice to have you around, friend. I think you had a stream yesterday. I was busy streaming myself. How did your stream go, Brian? Let us know. So sun is the other option here. These all came from icons. So when I was writing the book, again, I was trying to keep it as simple as possible. And I knew if I just used the icon names, we wouldn't have to write a mapping to map certain certain weather conditions to the icons. Yeah, don't sprain your arm there, Brian. Like, it was amazing. No, just teasing. No, it's awesome to hear it was working out good. We'll throw you some Blazor gloves for having a good stream yesterday. Assuming that you actually you stream about many things, so it may not have been Blazor, but it's been a lot of good Blazor streams lately. Let's see here. So we're going to map those icons over to the literal icon, and we're going to do that with a simple CSS read-only property. So we'll take this read-only property, we're going to put it right here, and this is a very quick and dirty way to... Oh, you're updating a Pluralsight course. Good stuff. Good stuff. Pluralsight has some really good content. Make sure you guys check out Pluralsight. It's a great resource to have at a time like this. So this icon class is a read-only property, and it's just a chain of ternary operators. This is another one of those semantic things everybody wants to argue about. Ternary, tenery, you name it. They're basically short if-then statements. So we're going to turn these like this. We could also probably have done a two lower, or no, I couldn't do two lowercase here because there is a Y. There's cloudy with a Y, and the only one that maps directly I think is sun. But there's other clever ways we could have done this. This is probably just the easiest I could find for the ebook. So we can just come up here and hit @icon CSS class right there like that. And also it concatenates automatically this IO dash or OI dash here. And oh, hey, Eagle, how are you doing? We're going through the ebook that I put out for free from Telerik. So if you go to telerik.com/whitepapers, you'll find the Blazor free ebook there. And we're just going through the examples because I never did publish these examples anywhere because the framework keeps changing and the versions keep changing. And I actually have one that I could just put up there, but I thought I'd remake it today and give us a little bit of content, and we can walk through this. And then if people are reading the ebook, they can check out some of the stream. So we're going to map the icon class to this here. And I kept it this way in the book. Normally I would take this whole thing and put, use my framework, my CSS builder framework to do this. But for the ebook purposes, this is a better example. It's a lot simpler, a lot more understandable if you, yeah, it is a free ebook, and I know you've seen it. So little sponsorship from Progress there, but it's nice that we can get it out free to everybody. So this example is a little more straightforward than putting a bunch of abstractions around it to where newcomers don't understand what's happening. So I chose to put it in line like this and concatenate it in, and that should give us our icon class. So we should be able to reload this. And again, I don't think anything's really going to change in that example, but we do now have dynamic data, somewhat dynamic. It's not randomized, but it's binding in instead of being set explicitly. So we've got that. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, here we go. We're going to inject a service. And again, we're toggling between WebAssembly and server side. And I don't think we have a service in this one. Oh yeah, I guess we do. We have Inject. In the book, it's going to use the actual object, weather service object. But in WebAssembly, we don't have that. And we'll be able to test some debugging here in just a moment. So we want weekly forecast, and then in weekly forecast we're going to add our HTTP client And then I'm going to steal, we're going to move this public like into an actual file. Let's see, we don't have, let's collapse our folders for a minute. Yeah, let's add a folder. Add new folder. Call this one data. Again, this is going to go up on GitHub for a resource to the book. I don't want a component. I want a new item. And we're going to get to the exciting part here in a minute, and that is testing debugging. Weather forecast is going to go here. And we'll paste that in. Now we have our weather forecast available to all of our components. Actually, we need to go into imports, and we need to put using bookwasm.data. Put that there, make that easy for people to find when they open the example. And we want from the fetch data example, we want to take this and we want to put that in our weekly forecast. So here we go. We've got some data coming in now, and we're just going to copy all the code from this. And this should give us 5 forecast items. I don't recall if the static data here has, I might ditch the sample data, I don't know. These have dates of, yeah, they're consecutive dates. I think we'll be able to roll with that. Let's see, that sounded like a new subscriber, which is totally amazing. And we have a piece of pizza has just subscribed. A piece of pizza. Thank you, first of all, for subscribing. And then second of all, thank you for using a name I can pronounce. A properly hyphenated name I can pronounce, which is rare to come by on Twitch. Yeah, so that gets to be a problem with me on the show, is I can't ever pronounce names on the show. So thank you for that. So double thank you for a piece of pizza, which I can say very easily. Well, there you. We'll do the Blazor Infinity Power Glove for the double win there. Oh, I see what you're saying. Eagle is saying when I said free Blazor ebook, like I was free. If Blazor was free, or even freeing Blazor, like you're trapped. So we've got our weekly forecast data now. We can bind to our list of things. So let's do this real quick though. I want to have a minute to check out the new features here, and I'm crossing my fingers that this works. Everybody's told me it does. This is something that we've been waiting for a really long time, and that is to be able to debug a WebAssembly application. So when I load weekly forecasts now, this should hit a breakpoint. And if we do, we can celebrate, because this is going to make life so much easier. So we're now running in debug mode, weekly forecast. I'm nervous. I did not hit a breakpoint. All right. So is there anything I missed? Enable debugging. Okay. Apparently I did miss something. To enable debugging in an existing WebAssembly app, update the launch settings.json in your project to include the inspect URI property in the launch profile. This properly enables IDE, so launch settings should look something like this. So I gotta put this in both. Okay. So let's take this piece and let's add that. I'm assuming that this will be an automated process when this ships. So let's go to launch settings and, oh, it's already there. Uh-oh. So this, I think, is what we were supposed to add. That would have been, uh-oh. Yeah. This is not an ASP.NET Core hosted. This is a straight WASM project. So yeah, this is just WebAssembly. You'll notice there's no server app. Am I running the latest version of... Yeah, I should be running the latest version. There's no update notifications, and if I go to help, about, this is version 16.6 preview 2, which should be the latest and greatest version. Yep, trying to debug Mr. Magoo, and it is not doing anything. So I just skipped past a breakpoint on weekly forecast. So some people this works for, and for me it does not. So it jumped right past the onInitialize async function. Let's try this. I'm going to stop, and let's try the non-IIS version. Let's do it without IIS, and sure, we don't care about the SSL warning thing. Yeah, that's great. Put a certificate there. Let's try it running from the command line. Oh, you know what? I didn't check that, Evan. I need to check that. Did not hit a breakpoint again. So that did nothing to help. Let's make sure we're on the latest version. That was a good suggestion. I never did check that, and I meant to. ASP.NET Core 3.2 Preview 3. Welcome, Chrysanthi. Welcome back. We are looking through the ebook examples. So I released the ebook last week and is completely free for people to download. And we're also exploring some of the new bits, seeing how the WebAssembly stuff is supposed to be debuggable, and it is not playing along. So thanks for the follow, .NET Newbie. That's going to be a name that sticks for a long time. That's a bold choice for a Twitch name. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Very much appreciated. So we have these launch settings enabled. And let's see. Ensure you have the latest preview. Check. Create a new... Oh, this says hosted. So maybe we needed the hosted app. So let's actually... So is it only on a host? Oh, wait. Hang on. Debugging... No, yeah. Maybe it has to be in a hosted app. That's a little unfortunate. It's a step in the right direction. You can debug Blazor WebAssembly apps. Blah, 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 blah. It does not say that I can only debug WebAssembly apps that are hosted. It works for both. It doesn't work on my machine. That's not good to hear. So let's set another breakpoint. So it shows breaking counter. Let's just double check and make sure it's not something to do with the onInitialize function. It shouldn't be, but who knows? go to counter, click. Oh, that. So that did work. That worked. While debugging Blazor WebAssembly, you can also debug server code. Set a breakpoint on. That's what I did. Huh. Well, this is interesting. So maybe it has something to do with the await. I have no idea. So this async function does not look like it wants to debug. Let's throw something else in here and see if it has any effect. Console.write. Or is it right line for WebAssembly? I can't remember. We'll say we got here. We'll do some got here debugging. Continue. Our count goes up. Fetch data kicks off. Let's go to weekly forecast. And no breakpoint. Strange behavior. Very strange. So the launch settings are there, Peter. The launch settings are there. It works. So we can debug the counter, but we cannot debug the initialize function. So onInitialize async is not letting me debug. I don't know if this is a bug, a limitation, all the above, but it is not working. So I'll have to follow up with some people I know and see if that is the case. So yeah, it doesn't say anything in here about it. No limitations. Maybe I should have read that part first. Inspecting arrays. Hovering to inspect members. Stepping into or out of managed code. Full support for inspecting type values. Breaking unhandled exceptions. Hitting breakpoint during app startup. Debugging an app from another service worker. So there are some limitations and not the specific, not the specific ones that I'm seeing. Interesting. Maybe try it from VS Code. That would require me installing VS Code right now, and that's not going to happen. We'll move past it. We saw that it works by clicking on the count. Let's go back to the ebook. So in the ebook, we're going to grab some data and then we bind that. So now we're going to bind the data. So right now we're just creating some dummy data. And now we're going to go to our forecasts instead. And then we have real data to work with. So I can say at item dot oh, there it goes. Took a second for IntelliSense. Temperature at item dot date dot. Boy, IntelliSense is requiring me to like double tap this. Day of the week. And then at item dot summary. Control J. Control J is your friend. That actually worked. Yeah, it is a preview. Evan says it's a preview. Looking forward to the next iteration. This is a huge step in the right direction. Being able to set the breakpoints and stuff. It did read that there were limitations on inspecting values. That's a tad on the disappointing side, but we're definitely seeing a big needle move towards the right direction. So now we are getting data from that list, and let's do. I'm going to run without debugging. Let's see what we get. And I think we have an error. Let's try this again. Oh, I know what it is. All right, so I went to the wrong URL there. It's going to be weather weekly forecast. And no, there is an error. All right, so, and I don't know what the error is because it won't let me pull the terminal up. F12. I've like completely locked up that tab, I think. That's not a good sign. Let's try in debug mode. So something went seriously wrong. Weekly forecasts again. An error has occurred. An error has occurred and it won't let me inspect the error. It is not showing in the console. That's not good. Let's try the IIS version of it. Not that that should matter. Oh, okay. So Mr. Magoo says you have to navigate to it in order for the event to debug correctly. That's interesting. So I can't do that. So let's do it this way. I keep jumping from my fetch data page. Let's take our fetch data page and we will put a link here. Slash weekly forecast, and we'll put a link on that page like that. Let's see if this helps with our error problem too. So we should be able to debug weekly forecast, put a breakpoint. So Mr. Magoo says if we navigate to it, wow, okay. So we can't hit the breakpoint if we are directly navigating through the browser. We have to route to it through the app. All right, so that's interesting. And then I think this is the part it talked about. We can't see values. So we're still kind of in that mode where we can't quite do everything. I'm assuming here, let's see if we can continue. It's failing on the initialize, so I'm not even able to see what this is as an error. So what is, oh, I think I might know what's going on here. We need to wrap an if statement around that. And I don't do it in the ebook because, oh no, I do. I'm missing a step. If I would have read my own book, I would have known better. So if I would have scrolled down a little bit, I would have seen what the actual problem is. And that is I have some null data before. So the way this works, and I hope I explained this well in the ebook, is that when the page loads, it will have a null forecast. So I'm missing another set of parens. That one's there. That one's there. That one's extra. Is that right? Oh no, missing the there. There we go. Thank you. Got it now. That makes more sense. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Coefficient. So here's what happens when the component loads. Forecast is initially null. It hasn't hit this routine yet. It hasn't initialized yet, but it will try to bind first. So what we want to do is check if it's null, display something, and then let the on initialize function, go ahead and complete, and then re-render that list. So we needed to add that. I don't believe you hit that on server side because of the pre-rendering, but I could be wrong. But it is in the book to go ahead and add that guard. And now that we have the guard in there, we have a nice display of bound data. Notice the icons are automatically data bound, so that should match where we are in the book. So the next thing that we want to do is add some templates. And we have our weather forecast. Maybe we want to add a little custom zone here so we can render a custom message. So what we're going to do next is we are going to set up an area to render a custom message inside of our weather component, where that red block was right there. And we will put that custom message right before, oops, I put it in the wrong section. This is at the page level. We want to be in the weather day component. So weather day, I'll put this at the bottom. Custom message goes in, and custom message is going to go right here above the card text. So we can apply any little piece of HTML we want inside of that block. I was trying to be clever and come up with something I could template in that section. I decided if we have a rainy day, we will automatically display a tornado warning in that section. So I called these forecast. So for each forecast and forecasts, I need to update these as well. If we hit a forecast with a summary that is rain, we're going to inject a div statement into that template that issues a tornado warning message. And now we should be able to run this again, and we'll go to weekly forecast, and there are our rainy days, and they have a tornado warning message. That uses a render fragment, so that's detailed pretty well in the book. We talk about render fragments. So we have a parameter of render fragment called custom message. Any component HTML razor that the consumer uses for that will be displayed there. So we're able to put a little bit of razor code inside of that template block and optionally display an alert message if we have rain. So that's pretty cool. So now we're in line with that phase of the book. And we talk about event handling. Now, if you downloaded the book prior to yesterday, please go back and download it again. If you have any trouble downloading it again, please let me know. There was a missing section of code from that initial release, and the event callback code may be missing from your ebook. So just to let you know, there was a little publishing error on my part, and this should be in there. So we're going to add a event callback to our component. This is going to let us select the items in the list. So we need to go to our weather day component. Thanks for the follow, Code Show. Welcome to the show. We're doing some Blazor. I don't know how long you've been lurking, but we're following along a free Blazor ebook, which I published, and we're doing one of the code examples from the ebook, because I'm going to publish the code examples online to coincide with the ebook, so people can follow along with the code sample. So we're about halfway through. We've got a weather forecast or a weekly weather widget that we're building, and we're adding the ability to select items from it now. and we're going to use the Blazor event callback delegate. So this is going to allow us to assign a delegate to our list of, or well, it isn't a list yet. It is a single weather card in the that will be in the list, and we'll be able to assign this onSelected delegate to do something when we click on the individual card item. So we've got our event callback. We need to raise the event callback when somebody clicks on it. To do that, we're going to need to call handle onSelected, and that will invoke whatever method somebody has assigned to the onSelected delegate, and we're going to give the parameter of the day of the week that that item has. Would it be better to place the custom message tags inside the if statement? You would not have empty tag if it is false. I don't think it's going to matter either way because that's not actually a physical tag. We can look at the rendered output. That's a fair question. Makes me think what is actually happening there. There's a couple options that we could do here. I don't think there's going to be any unused rendered markup in here. So I think we do actually get like one of these little comment pieces. So I think we would lose a comment section at the most. But you'll notice there's no unrendered tag here, .NET Newbie. So at the very least, one of these comments might get ignored. I think those are just placeholders where that tag would exist. But those aren't HTML tags. So the question from Code Newbie, let me kind of review a little bit. He was asking if I put the if statement around. Actually, I don't think the if statement would even work there. I think that would be a compiler error if we tried to do it like that. So you'll notice we even lost, oh no, there we go. Yeah, we're gonna get red underscores everywhere. So this is invalid razor for one. So that's the first issue. It wouldn't even compile correctly like that. And then these tags are components. They are not physically or template sections. It's more IDE sugar than anything. So this custom message tag never is rendered anywhere. Just like the weather day is never rendered anywhere, except it has HTML inside of it that gets rendered. Custom message wouldn't render any HTML if this was empty, and that if statement essentially makes it empty. So no, that wouldn't help any, but there's also some other things that we could do. Like if we wanted to render like an empty template, we could actually check. I won't put it in this example because this is going to be part of the book. But what we could do is you could say something like this. You could say that if custom message is null, I believe. So if there's, I think it'll come up null. There's other ways to check for it if that's not the right exact syntax. Oops, not equal. If it is not null, then render it. And then if it is, we'd put an else here. We could have like something else that gets rendered as an empty state. So we could put an optional like empty state in there. But we're going to keep with the book for this example, so I'll remove that for now. But we can test the render fragment and see if there's anything in it, and then display like just like a default, something that we might want to override with the template. We can do that. And we're actually going to do something similar with the onHandled event, so keep your eye out for that same pattern when I go into the next part on this handle select. Oh, wait, no, I don't do it here. I'm sorry. That's another demo I've done. We can check for event handlers as well and toggle buttons to show whether they're selectable or delete functionality and stuff like that. but I don't think I got into that in the ebook. We'll have to see in a minute. I can't remember now. So we have to raise the event that has been assigned. And then this is going to go in, oh yeah, we have to put a selected parameter here. Because when we select something, we need to be able to tell the UI to update and show a selected state. So we need to create another one of these read-only properties. So this is going to be a read-only property called selected CSS, and it is going to give us one of these two CSS styles, depending on whether the selected flag has been set here. And that is going to go up here and replace this entire line, I believe. Background primary, oh wait, maybe not. Background light. Let me double check the ebook. Card M2 selected CSS. So we're going to take background light out. We're going to move that to the end. And we'll render the selected CSS right there in line with this. So we'll go ahead and save that. And then we'll start wiring this up together. First thing we need to do is we need to update our weather forecast object. It needs a selected field. So in a real world scenario, we would probably do this with a view model of some sort and not go in and hack our data object directly like this, but we need a selected property here. We could also use like partial classes. There's other ways to add this without going in and like hacking away at our data object that might correspond to like a data table or something like that. Trying to remember if it's in this ebook or not, but if you're using this with Entity Framework, you can also put an attribute on it that tells you that it's not persisted in the database. I can't remember the attribute off the top of my head. There's an or not mapped, I believe is what it is. So it'd be something like this, not mapped. Yep, there we go. So that would tell it that it doesn't exist in the database. It's only part of the view model. So you can mix and match. That's not probably a best practice for large projects, but for smaller ones, it works great. So we can do that as well. We need to wire this together. We need to wire it together. So we've added in our weather day a event callback that gives us a day of the week that was clicked on. We would handle the selected element. We haven't put an event handler in yet. So when we click on something, which we haven't defined, it's going to raise the event that the user has assigned to that element. And it's going to pass back the day of the week. The next thing we need to do is the on-click event. We did not add that yet. So up here in our div, on click, I don't go into this in the ebook. It's just beyond the scope of the ebook. So you're getting like the director's cut edition here on the show today. So handle on selected, I'm going to put right here. There is a little caveat that I will say, like if you're using a div and you're putting an on click event on it, there are ARIA attributes and things that you should probably also use. Or look at maybe making this a button and then styling it different. There are accessibility issues with doing it exactly how I outlined here. This is just an example. This is not a best practice. There's two wildly different things here. Yes, it's in the book. Whoops. Yes, it's in the book like this. It is not intended to be like the end-all be-all shippable code. You would probably want to put something like role as button in here. That would help. And there are other things that help with like keyboard navigation, things like that. Just attaching on click to a div is not going to give you all of the accessibility features that you need. So just keep that in mind. These are just, the book would be entirely too large if I tried to cover every little scenario that is out there. But we'll go ahead and put the handle click on the div directly in this example. And then we put our weather forecast select in there. And now we can go over to our weather forecast page and we can wire this thing up. So we need an event, and we're going to allow the user to handle all of the selected logic. So instead of trying to bake all of the select logic into the component, we're just going to pass them an event handler that they can attach to and do all the work themselves, because we don't know as a component developer how the user will interact with this thing. They might want to do some sort of activity when that item is selected. They might want to do some sort of validation, or check some validation. If it fails, maybe not select that item and allow some kind of cancellation. There's so many different things that it's easier just to give them a delegate and then let them write their own code inside of that handler and do what they need to do. So the first thing we want to do is clear all of the selections out. If we don't do this, then it will turn into like a multi-select type of experience, and there won't be any way to toggle off a selection either. We could write logic in there to do that and do like a multi-select. Holy cow, we have animals. We have dogs. You may hear them. This is quarantine coding at its finest. Somebody rang the doorbell and they are going crazy. So, yeah. All right, so we're going to clear those out. Then we'll select the first item that has a day of the week. These wrappings are weird because of the book. Whoa! And let's see. Let's turn off alerts because Sarah just bounced in, and uh-oh, I may not have hit these in time. We've got huge subscriptions being doled out by Sarah. And let's see here. Let's take a look what's happening. The alerts are going to keep pouring in, even though I have alerts disabled. Thank you, OBS, for continuing. Oh, wait, there we go. Alerts. I had 2 alert boxes. There we go. Got them muted that time. Cool. Thank you, Sarah. That is awesome. Sarah just rolling out gift subs for like everybody ever. Sarah is my boss at Progress, and she's amazing, and she is supporting the Blazor initiative here on the channel by subbing everybody like tons of stuff here. So I said all the channel. That may have been an overstatement, but at least 10 subs were doled out there. So that is awesome, Sarah. Thank you so much. Hello, Ed's boss. Ed he needs a raise. I'll take that, but you know, this is there we go. There we go, coefficient. There's an Ed raise. Do you get it? Only the stream can. I don't know if I'm showing this on the screen here, but that was about as dad joke as they come. Sarah gets me. Sarah, you get it. There's the Ed raise. All right, we definitely need some time outside with other people if we're laughing at that. Even the dogs are laughing. All right, back to the show. Let's see what we've got going on here. So we can select things now with this very simple logic of clearing all the selections and then getting the first item that has a so what this actually does is when I click the item, maybe it'll help if we look at it. Hopefully the code runs. Otherwise, I won't be able to explain what's happening here. Yeah, cabin fever is kicking in for sure when we're laughing at my jokes. This didn't select. Oh, I'm missing the wire up. So we need to wire this up and then I'll explain how it works. How about that? That might be a little bit better. So let's make this work first. We need to put this onSelected event in. Oh, and the selected value needs to be in there too. So we'll just go ahead and copy this whole code block here. And this all goes in the top portion of the weather day component. And there. All right, so we updated this onSelected. We're going to handle the selected item. Selected is a property that we're going to bind to. So let's run this. And I can explain how it works. When I click that, you notice it got selected. What it's done is I'm going to click, this is Monday. So if you look at Monday, remember Monday, we are going to invoke this handle selected item method, and it accepts a day of the week, and that day of the week is coming from inside the component where we have, where is it? Weather day. When I clicked on handle selected, it raised this onSelected event handler and gave me the current day of the week. So it is coming from the data that is bound to that weather forecast and saying the day of the week was Monday. It's going to clear all the selections, and then it's going to use link to find the first item in the array that is Monday. And then it will set the selected value to true, lighting it up. So it does that for each one. Somebody pointed out to me in a help desk ticket that was filed through our system that this only supports a single week. If you had multiple weeks here, it would select every Friday or every Monday. The intention of the book was to provide a simple example, and I would do things a lot different if this was a more complex scenario. This is just a simple example to show you how to pass around the event delegate. It is not meant to be used in a full 2-week forecast time span. So it works fine the way it is. If I was going to do this for something much larger, instead of passing all of these fields in the way they are defined here, I would accept a data object. Just give me an object of arbitrary type, and then we would have a mapping of this field correlates to temperature in Celsius. This field in my object is the summary, and so on. And then when I click the on selected, I wouldn't just pass in the day of the week. I would just give you the whole object back. So you can do whatever you want. Maybe you have an ID on your object. Maybe there's something else. If it's just an object, there's no known quantity. You have to pass the whole object back or an interface back that the user can then do what they need to do to select the item. For this very simple example, we have a known quantity, which is we know there's a day of the week there. We can give that back to the user and let them highlight what they want with it. A good example of this is to go to telerik.com, and in our demos you can see other scenarios where this is at play. So if I were to go to, say, the data grid, and I went to my select, where's select at here, selection. We don't know what kind of types you are putting into this array of things that is in the grid. We don't know if these are products, people. We don't care about the object type. So what happens when you select an item here is we actually bind it to, there's an event that fires, and we're going to bind, there's an onSelected event. You can also use the bind syntax, but you're going to get back a IEnumerable of selected items. So that's a completely different way of doing it. So it's an IEnumerable of t that you get back, and we're able to do that a little more broadly. So there's other things that work like this too, like drop-down boxes have the same type of behavior. If I look at a drop-down list, this is the same thing. This is an unknown object to us, and we have a data field. It's a data of whatever. It's just an IEnumerable of objects, and we're going to take that in and then let you specify what the text field is and what the ID field is. And then when there's a change fired, we'll just send back the selected item. It's up to you to map that thing and do what you need to do with it. So in this scenario, you're getting back a string that's indicative to a text box. These work with objects now. I think this example might be a little specific, but you get the idea. You can bubble up what you need to as your event argument, and in this scenario, the day of the week was good enough. If you are going to have more than 2 weeks worth of data here, you might want to put a different event argument in here. Maybe an ID number, a date, the full date, something like that. So it's just using what we have at hand or on hand in this example. So we're able to select that way, and that is the end of that example. So in that example, you get to see directives, parameters, child, content and templates, routing, and event handling, which is going to cover pretty much most of the basic needs for building components in Blazor. So I think it's a pretty good example of what can be done. Let's button this up. So everything is saved here. I'll close all the docs out. I need to turn my alerts back on too, because Sarah blew up my alerts with the wonderful gift subs. And now I can turn my alerts back on because it won't be chiming in every few seconds, and I will be able to hear if there's a new follower like Miss Rose 813. Thank you for following. I appreciate the new follow, so thank you for that. Sorry, it happened about 3 minutes ago. I missed the alert. So this all ties into the book. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit more fancy. So we will take the example. Let's give it one more run. And we have counter, fetch data. We have the weekly forecast example that we built in the book. Let's go ahead and add some text here to the home page. Pages, index. We'll take this. We can leave the survey prompt, and we'll put a link to the ebook in there. So if somebody were to come across this example on GitHub, they have a link to the ebook. Let's see, this repo contains examples from the free Blazor ebook. I put all that text in there. It should be here. There we go. That's better. So now if we run it, there's our ebook link. We should probably put a weather forecast item here as well. You can navigate it to it from weather from fetch data, but we should probably put something there. So let's add a nav item in here. I didn't go into nav item in the book. Again, there's some things that are just so well covered everywhere else. I kind of skipped by them just so it's a quicker read. And this wasn't something I felt was too pertinent. It's easy to kind of figure out. There's tons of documentation out there. It's in the Microsoft Docs. So we'll go ahead and add weekly forecast here. And we will give it a cloud icon. And we will say this is weekly forecast, and that should give us a nav item now. So here is our weekly forecast. I just added that, and you can see we got the nice cloud icon and a link we can click on, so we can navigate directly to it, and we can do that there. Cool. So that is enough to finish that example. So we did that all client side Blazor. We're going to do some copy paste, but we're going to very quickly add another project here, and then I'll push this up on GitHub and we'll start linking folks to it. There's going to be more examples that there's more stuff in the ebook. Let's see, we won't be able to do these today. There's code behind, has some examples in it of how to move things to a code behind. I'll probably need to put those in this repo as well. There is a two-way data binding example in here. There's a JavaScript interoperability example that needs to go in here. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to go in. Some of these things require Telerik UI for Blazor as well. So those might go in a separate project. Just so everybody that downloads the ebook doesn't necessarily have to have a free trial of Blazor, Telerik UI for Blazor to run it. So we'll do book server. So we'll use the server-side Blazor template on this one. Blazor server app, we'll create that. And now we have a Blazor server application. What we want to do is, first of all, let's move over our component. So I'm going to go into shared. We're going to grab weather day out of that, and we'll go into shared over here, and we will drop a weather or another component here. Actually, we can do it without grabbing the code even. We'll just copy weather day, paste weather day, and this should be almost ready to use. It's missing some using statements maybe. No, actually that'll work. So the weather page will change. So this will show you how close the a Blazor server and a Blazor client application are in common. So we're going to put weather forecast here, and instead of HTTP client, this is where things get different. We are not going to call HTTP client. We are going to call weather service here. Weather service, where are you, weather service? We need a using statement. Data dot, using data. Weather forecast service. And let me check the book again just for the correct syntax there, so it matches up. Component basics. So we're just adding the server side version now, so we have both examples, server and client side. And later this next week I might do some more of these, because there are other examples in the book that need to be recreated. And it'll be a good little segment to show. There's a JavaScript interop section that teaches geolocation. So we'll go ahead and put that in here too. Yeah, so weather service is what it's called. This is the only real difference, I believe, that we're going to hit in these examples, is that we have a service here instead of this HTTP call. So instead of awaiting that, we're going to await weather service dot get forecast async date time now. That should be the only change. And then we need to go into our weather forecast object and add a selected field. Because that was different. That needed to change. One more thing, we need to modify the weather service to only output the 3 supported weather types. So we will remove these items and only output those instead. So rainy, cloudy, sunny go there. Mr. Chris DeMars just joined the show. Welcome. Welcome, Chris. How are you doing? I don't know how long you've been around, but I was just I was talking about accessibility just a minute ago, because I have in my book something that is not like the best of practices, but it's a simple example. But I was just pointing out to people that if you were developing a real-world example, it would be slightly different, and I just didn't have time in my book to cover every little detail. And I was just saying, maybe putting an on-click event handler on a div. We should probably have some ARIA roles and some other attributes on there, like role equals button, things like that, that I just didn't have time to get into in the book and explain fully. But I think you'd appreciate that, being the accessibility expert you are. Let's see here. This isn't lighting up for some reason. Let's make sure that it's coded correctly. Sometimes opening and closing the file will fix it. Still not lighting up IntelliSense correctly, so we shall see. Accessibility for the win, for sure, my friend. So I've got the weather forecast assigned, weekly forecast. This all looks good. Weather day, I'm still concerned about. Something just doesn't seem right here. Either missing a using statement or something else. Let's just double check here. Using data might need to be in here. No, that doesn't need to be there. Not sure why this on-click should be orange, I believe. We'll see what happens when we try to run it. We need to add that little navigation bit so we can get to the page. We'll go over to nav menu, plop that in there, and let's see if we can run our server example. It should be identical now. Make sure we have, nope, there was a build error. Oh, what is this? Map Blazor hub failed. There's no definition for Map Blazor hub. So let's see. I'm going to assume that this came in with an old package reference, or the template is not updated. There's no updates pending. I don't recall server-side Blazor changing at all. Why do I have this? Endpoint route builder does not contain a definition for Map Blazor hub. Am I missing a using statement? Don't believe so. That's an interesting one. Haven't seen that yet. Map Blazor Hub. Did we change that? See if there's anything in the release notes. There's nothing. Don't recall this changing recently. I endpoint route builder does not contain definition. Oh, there's the error. Let's hunt it down. Preview 9. Let's see. Boy, that's strange. I didn't use an old template. Single call to Map Blazor Hub. That's what it says. Huh. All right. Did I get an old template from somewhere? How did that happen? I should have the latest updates. So this is that's Webassembly. This is a server-side template which ships with .NET proper. How did I end up with an old version? Let's see if that builds. It does not. This is definitely an old version. Why am I getting an old version of the server-side template? Let's see what happens again if I do File, New Project, or Add, New Project, Server App. I'm just going to leave it. And oh, somehow I picked 3.0. That's what it was. All right. So let's see. Let's remove this. I'm going to have to redo those steps. All right, I think I made my point as to what was different between server and client. Yeah, I did, Peter. So I think I got everything I needed there. As far as what I wanted to show people is that the server and client are not that different. It was just the service call that needed to change. So I won't drag everybody through that again. I think we're going to wrap up the show for today. I'll do these. I'll do the client/server examples in a behind the scenes. And then next week, what's the theme? Oh, that's a great question, by the way. Theme I'm using for Visual Studio. So here, I'll pull it up in, so you can add the theme this way. This is a dark theme that I created. If you go to extensions, or tools or extensions, manage extensions. So you click on extensions, manage extensions, and then look for online and type in mid-century. Why is it saying no things are found? Maybe there's a space, mid-space century. And that's not going to find it because I already have it installed, maybe. Where are you at? Yeah. So it should be mid-century theme. So you can find that there. So it'll be the mid-century theme. There's both a light and dark theme in that package. It is marked as preview. Maybe that's what I missed. Do I have online? There's no checkbox for preview here. You can also find it in the Visual Studio Marketplace. and I can actually provide a link to it directly here. So let's do that. Mid-century. So the mid-century theme is a theme I created. 1,100 downloads, not too bad. So you can find the theme there. So it has both a light and a dark theme in it. For those that like bright colors, there's a light theme. The dark theme is my favorite. It was developed specifically for Blazor. It is marked preview. So I don't know how much of this I can talk about, but I can say that there will be changes in how Razor is represented in Visual Studio. So I have left this in preview for now until those changes take place, because I may need to recolor some things once that happens. I'm still waiting for Visual Studio to receive that Razor compiler update to see how it affects my theme before I make it non-preview. But essentially it works now. So you can grab it there. Great question. I'm happy to take any more questions before we wrap up the show. Then we'll go raid some folks. So we will do a raid here if nobody has any more questions. Next week, I don't have a stream schedule set up with for next week. Possibly Friday. And Friday should still be the regular show. I may jump on the Code It Live channel next week. I don't have anything written in stone yet, but there's plenty of stuff to stream about while people are home during this quarantine phase, and we'll keep... Awesome, thanks, Jacko. Also, there is the free ebook. Speaking of downloads, so we'll put that free ebook in the chat room one more time. Next week, though, I will try to stream multiple days if I can fit it into my schedule. Let's see, I've got, what is going on here next week? Fairly busy schedule, but I've got some clear afternoons I can try to stream. So keep an eye out. Watch on Twitter, or if you followed me on Twitch, you should receive alerts when I go live. So thank you all for joining. And we are going to look at raids now. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, like I said, just try to follow on Twitch. So just click the follow button, Jacko. And I don't have a set schedule quite yet. Things have been pretty crazy lately, so everybody in our organization, just like many others, is working from home now. So there's been a lot of improvised meetings and things happening. So it's hard to schedule things in advance. Hopefully that starts to clear up soon. I'll definitely be on Friday next week at the same time, so noon Eastern Standard Time on Fridays, always, if I'm available. But I'm going to try to do additional streams that will be announced probably the day before or less before I go live. But definitely, if you click the follow button, you'll get updates on those. We've got Clarkio online now. Clark has an amazingly fun channel to watch. Thanks for the follow, Jacko. Clark's fun to watch. We've got Lana Lux as well. I'd suggest if you're we'll raid Clark. If you're not into JavaScript, I'd pop over to Lana Lux, watch her do some Unity streaming. So she's doing some Unity dev. Clark's usually doing JavaScript. We did Lana last time we were on the air, so we'll jump over to Clark this time and kind of toggle back and forth. You're very welcome, Curious Drive. Thanks for coming back. And Sarah, one last time, thanks for all the gift subs. That's awesome. So everybody's got well, not everybody, but there was at least 10 people that got subs today. So if you didn't get one, come back. We might have another little gift run again sometime. You never know when Sarah's going to pop in and just start throwing subs around. So we'll see you all soon. Enjoy your weekend, and say hi to Clark IO or Clark EO. It's written IO, but he says EO. So Clark EO, say hello to him. Enjoy his fun and crazy channel.